All right, so today we're going to be talking about leave of absence training here. I do want to say happy Halloween to anybody who enjoys the holiday. So put a little couple cute little images on there for everybody today. So we're going to talk about leave of absence. I guess it could be kind of spooky, have people leaving and be gone for a little while. So this is going to be mostly an administrative type thing. And so let me switch over to our training here. And you should be able to see my browser. So as I mentioned, we're going to talk about leave of absence. Now, a couple of weeks ago, we actually did training that included some of this, which was the employee management, and we talked about mass leave of absence. And we can visit that again today. But I'm going to talk about more how you do it on an individual basis today. So that's how that's going to be done. So let's go ahead and switch over to the admin side. That's where we're going to handle this. So I'm over here in HR. Let me just go to employees. Now, to do an individual employee and have the leave of absence on that person, you just pick the person who's going to go on leave, and I'll just pick somebody, you don't really care. And what you're going to see is under employment, we have this screen here called leave of absence. Now, we added this about 3 months ago in July in the R2 release. And of course, we talked about it in the webinar, but I went quickly. And so today we're going to spend a little bit more time. So let's look at this here. And so when you come here, unless somebody's already been on a leave of absence, you're not going to see anything here. It's just going to look blank like this because, we're just putting them on leave here on this screen. But if they have had previously a leave of absence, you're going to see that there. It'll have obviously the start date and the actual end date of that previous leave of absence. So I'll go ahead and click add here and you'll see how to do this. So, and again, this is doing it for one person. If you need to do it in mass, I'll cover that again. And of course, you're welcome to go back and watch the previous video. But when you go and add somebody on leave of absence, you'll see these fields that you need to add. Now, there are a few required fields. These first 4 are required that you must fill in. So you'll see here the type of leave of absence. So mandatory or voluntary. So maybe you're putting somebody on leave for a close of season or something like that. They're going to come back in a few months. They're going to be on leave of absence until they come back. So that might be a mandatory one because it really wasn't the employee's choice to be put out on leave. Maybe they knew about it, but it wasn't their choice. Voluntary would be, they're something that I wouldn't say they caused, but it's something that they, it's about them as it wasn't the company forcing it on them. So we don't really care which one you choose there, but that's what mandatory and voluntary is all about. Okay, and then the reason would be why are they going on leave? Maybe it's a pregnancy leave, maybe it's a medical reason, maybe it's military, maybe it's just they need some time off type of situation, but they're going to be on leave for some amount of time. So you can put down the reason why. So let's just say medical, right? And the reason here, of course, you can go into more detail if you needed to put down more detail. You can certainly put down as much as you like in here, type in, medical, surgery, blah, 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 or something like that. Or maybe they were injured, you need to put that down here or something like that. You could certainly put more than just a few, few words if you need to. Here you'll be able to add attachments. So maybe they have a doctor's note and it's saying, hey, they're going to go get surgery and they're going to need to be off of work for the next 5 weeks or something like that. And you want to add that attachment or many attachments to this particular leave request. So you can go ahead and drag and drop files right onto here, or you just click this button and then you can find that image you want to put in there. So it is like a PDF or an image, Word document, something like that you might want to add. All right, the start date for this. Now, this could be retroactive. Maybe they started yesterday or last week or something like that, and you want to put that out there. You certainly are welcome to, put down, the past. Of course, it could be that they're leaving today, or maybe that let's say they're pregnant and they're going to be leaving in a couple of weeks and something like that. And you might want to put it in the future. So you can do it like that. All right. Now the estimated end date. So this is another required field where maybe they tell you they're going to be gone for 5 weeks. So you put out 5 weeks from now, where they give you an end date for that. So let's just do 5 weeks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. So I'll just say they're coming back, or let's put them back on that Monday, the 18th. So they're gone for 5 weeks. All right. So something like that. Of course, any of these date fields I could have type them in as well. So if I wanted to, type in 12/18 or some other date, I certainly could welcome it. Now, when I'm typing in a date, just so you're aware, you can always just put in the month and the day, and we're going to assume the current year, which right now is probably okay. But as we get towards the end of the year, and of course in January and stuff like that, you may want to, make sure you're typing in the year, because you wouldn't want to put down 2024 when you meant 23 or something like that. And especially, let's say I know they're coming back in January. If I put down like that, that's obviously not the right date. They're not going to come back before they actually leave. So you will want to make sure that you put the date in there when you're, crossing over. I always just do month and day, and then, double check the date here. So that's just how I do it there. All right. So actually, what was it, 12/15 or something like that? There we go, 12/18. All right. Now the actual end dates, you probably aren't going to know that right now, because it might get extended. Maybe they come back early. It probably is going to be this, but who knows, right? Things happen, and people, they might not come back on the actual or the estimated date. So we'll leave this blank for right now. When they actually come back, you'll put the date in there, and then you'll change your status to active. So put that in there when you're ready to actually put the date there. All right, so these couple fields down here might be useful for you. So we've got stop their pay on, and then a particular date. This is not a required field. And stop their time off accruals on a particular date. So perhaps while they're gone, they're going to still be paid because they're using up their time off. Maybe they got some sick leave or vacation, paid time off, something like that. They, might want to use that time while they're gone. So you can certainly put that here, and say, all right, they're going to continue to get paid until they exhaust all their time off, or maybe they're getting like a partial payment or something, and doing a short-term disability, and they're going to supplement that with time off. So you can leave this blank, and that'll keep them active in payroll until you actually put a value in here. Now, maybe you've estimated that they have, I don't know, 3 weeks of vacation. So you say, all right, well, 3 weeks of vacation from the 13th. So that would mean starting on the 11th, I think it would be, or the 4th, it would be, when they're going to stop being paid. So it'll use up their time there. Now you can obviously pre-populate this if you like, or just leave it blank, and then when they actually use up all their time, you can fill it in. Same type of thing with this time off accruals. If they're able to earn time off as they're using their time off, which some companies allow, then you might want to hold off on pausing their accruals until they've actually used up all their time off. So this could be their actual start date. Maybe they can't earn it while they're on leave, even though they're using their time. So you might put down 11/13. Of course, if they're going to be using their time and still earning or something, then you could fill out the correct date there. And then you'll see here where I can put in notes. Now this is one note field. So if you need to add other notes, come back later and put in some notes, maybe type something in here, and then, a week from now, you need to type something else in there. This is a one note field. You would just need to just type and maybe add a couple of, spaces or something like that between notes, or maybe put the date there, put today's date and say, informed of leave, right? And then maybe in a couple days or something like that, you put down and say, I don't know, on 11/10, receive documentation, something like that. So this is one big note field, and this can keep going on and on. I can copy and paste. I can format. So, you might make a list or something like that. You see here, maybe I bullet list or something. All right. So you're certainly welcome to do whatever you like in there. And I'll go ahead and save this. Now, what will happen is this is going to change this person's status. So once that date comes around, this status is going to be changed to leave. I don't know if I have anybody on leave right now. Let's just see. I do. Okay. So I do have somebody who's on leave right now. And actually, this person is on leave too. They're terminated in the future. So it's kind of a weird situation. But this person is currently on leave. So if I go in here, you'll notice that I've got 10/16 to 12/15. So they're currently on leave. That other person I just assigned to the leave of absence, they will not be on leave until the 13th of November. So the system will handle that automatically. So you're searching for people that way. So that's how we're doing that. All right, so that's how you can look at that. Now, a couple of things you would need to set up that interact with that time off settings. So if you have plans that will be accruing while they're on leave, there's a setting in the plan that says accrue during LOA. So that's going to interact with that field that says stop accruals and stuff like that. So if I do not have this checked, it will not accrue regardless of what's in that field. So if this isn't checked, this vacation plan is not going to accrue. It doesn't matter what's in that field. If I do have this checked, but then I put in an end date, then it will end on that particular date and then stop accruing. And then once I return them from the leave or I clear out that date, it will start accruing again. But this does need to be checked off to indicate that this is a plan that can be accrued while they're on leave. You probably want to set this up before you put anybody on leave. Go through your various plans. However many you've got. I've got a whole bunch of plans in here for testing and so forth. So you'll want to go through and make sure you check that box off for any plan that needs to be on leave or accrued during leave. All right, so that's really the setting there for that. There's not really any other settings you need to put in for anything else because that's the only thing that affects leave of absence. The leave type that's hard coded in there is either mandatory or voluntary, and we didn't put the reason as a code table. So there's really nothing else you need to put down in any code tables. But just be aware for your time off plans, if you do have plans so they can accrue while they're on leave, make sure you check that box, right? And then it will allow them to accrue. Now, the other thing I wanted to show again is how I can do a mass leave of absence. So perhaps like that situation I mentioned earlier, you're going to be shutting down a facility for a few months because of whatever, it's winter and you don't need people there because whatever the situation is, or summer or something like that, whatever. So you're going to lay off a number of people and they're going to come back after the season is over or something like that. So you can do this mass leave of absence here. Now, when I do this, you'll see here, of course, I do need to tell it the employer. If you just have one, then that's not a situation you need to worry about. But if you have multiple like I do, you can make sure you select the employer. You have two options here: create a leave of absence record or modify an existing leave of absence record. So this would put everybody on leave. And then when you're ready to return them, this would return them from leave, or maybe change it. Maybe you extended the dates, that they're going to be coming back by a couple of weeks and you want to update all those records. So you can certainly use it for that. Let me download the template here and I will show you what this looks like. So I did download this a couple of weeks ago, but let me go ahead and share this here. All right, so this is the template that I just downloaded showing what you would need to fill in here. So first, I do like to show the lookup values here just so you can see what is in here for the lookup values and you can know what's in there. So first off is the employee number. So these are all the active employees because these are the people who could potentially go on leave. Now, we don't show the names, so you would need to know, okay, employee number 102 is, whoever. It's Harry Jones, and so I need to know that's the number. So you'd want to run a report maybe, or just jot them down and look at the employee records to make sure that you've got, the right ones in there because under leave of absence, you just put in the employee number. Now, the type here, as I mentioned, these are hard coded, so it's mandatory or voluntary, and that's going to just lead over here or lead over to this sheet here. All right, so you'll see when I look in here, I do have various columns. Now, because I downloaded it for the employer, you'll notice the employer is not here. I can only do this per employer, so I can't combine multiple employers into one sheet. So if you do have multiple companies and you need to do this for all the companies or more than one, you'll need to download a template for each one and make sure you select the right company when you go to import it back in. All right, so you'll see here the employee number. So I'll just pick 102 and 34. All right, so those two people are going to be on leave. And of course, you could have as many as you want. Now, this is the number. We don't have a limit. Now, of course, you could put everybody on leave if you wanted to. You can copy and paste in here, but just be aware it's got to match up to one of the existing employee numbers in the system. So if you if it doesn't match up, you'll get a message. For an example, if I just typed in like 2134, I'm not sure if this showed the message an error, but I got an alert saying it doesn't match. one of the values in there. So if you type it in, or well, especially if you type it in, you will get an error message. If you paste from somewhere else, what you're doing is kind of going around the validation rules, and it will allow you to enter in or paste in a value that doesn't exist. So let's just show you 2134. I can paste this in there even though the number doesn't exist. What would happen is it would reject it when I go to import it. So I'll get a discrepancy report. So just be aware of that you can paste in numbers that don't exist. All right, now the type here, let me just put everybody on a mandatory leave. Now this, again, you can copy and paste. Just make sure it matches the actual values there. You know, don't just put like M or V, because that wouldn't match up. All right, let's just say, I don't know, let's try to look at a calendar real quick. Let's just, I'll put a date in here. It doesn't really matter. Let me do 11/6/23. All right, so this one, you do need to put the full date. You can't just put 11/6 because we do not assume the date on the import. And let's say they're coming back on 3/1/24. All right, the end date, the actual end date, I don't have it right now, so I'm going to leave that blank. And then the reason, I'm going to say closed for season. This, again, is just text, so I can copy and paste this. We don't validate that, so if you misspell something or whatever, that's what's going to be in there. Okay, and you'll see there where I could do the stop the pay on and stop the accruals on if I would like to put those values in there. So if everybody stops their accruals on that date, then you might want to put down 11/6 for all of these dates, really depending on what you're doing. And then the notes, it looks really small, but as you know, that note field is very big. So you could type in a very long note in here if you like, or just type it in the system. All right, so I would save that here. And now I can go back over to the system to import this in. So let me just go ahead and save and switch back. There we go. All right. Of course, one thing to make sure you do when you, anytime you're doing an import and using one of the templates, is to close the spreadsheet first. What can happen is some computers, some versions of Excel will kind of lock the file and won't let you upload it. And it might, it might see it as like a corrupted file. So always just close your Excel or at least close the file before you try to upload it. It might work. Sometimes it might not work. Other times I always close the file because I've had problems with it, sometimes being locked. All right, so here's that spreadsheet I just updated. And what I would do is then hit import. All right, this will show me the results of what's happening here. 3 are imported. This would show me anybody who didn't match up. So if I put in the wrong number, or somebody was already terminated or already on leave or something like that, it would let me know about that right here. You'll see down here in the bottom, I can download these results to Excel, so I can get a spreadsheet, which basically looks exactly like the existing spreadsheet. So you can see that there. Now, I did see a request for like a report to run to get the employee number and the name. So you could probably run one like the employee list. That's probably a decent one there. I believe this one has the employee number in it, so this one might be it. Or you can make an ad hoc report. That might be a good way to do that here. So I might say, AFC Richmond, show me the active employees and run this report. Now I'm looking as a PDF, obviously, but I believe this has the employee number on it. Yep, so there's the employee number and the name. Obviously, the other columns I don't need for my import. This would be the column where I want to copy and paste. And then obviously do this like out to Excel. Not that you couldn't type them in, but put it out to Excel. That way you can easily know, okay, I need to grab these, 3 guys or whatever it is. So this is probably the one I'd recommend. There's other reports that have the employee number on it. Or like I said, you could always make an ad hoc report that had the employee number using the data grid. You can make one that just had like, number and name. So you might come out here and do employee, and then this one should have the employee number, and then you might do the first name and last name. Now this one, you'd want to throw in something like, show me the people who are active. So you might do a criteria here and say is active is equal to, I believe it's true, is the value. I'm not sure if it's true or yes. It might be yes. What I usually do, and I should have done this before, is run it first and then, oh, it's active. Okay. So obviously I'd want to say is active is equal to active. All right, so active. And of course, you could put other criteria in here. Maybe there's a certain department or location or something like that. So you can build that. So you might want to build one of these views and then save it or something like that. So that not that you couldn't run the employee list or other reports, but maybe this is the easiest one for you. You want to put a bunch of criteria on it or something. You can certainly build something like that. So you would save this and just say active employees. All right, so pretty simple there to do that. Let me show you just real quick also the returning them from a leave or changing the leave of absence. So modifying existing leave of absence records. This one is going to be similar template when I do this. The difference is this one's going to have the people that already are on leave. So when I come back out here and I go to modify leave of absence, because of the name of the template here, you'll see here are all the people who are currently on leave in my system. The lookup values are going to be the same as the other one before, but I kind of ignore that because this is the stuff that I want to see on here. So you'll see the existing numbers, the type, the start date, the end date, and this. Now, if you're going to return some of the employees, then you can just remove the others. So these three, maybe I'm not changing anything on there. So let me just go ahead and delete those because I don't need it. These, I'm going to change the estimated date. So, it was really rough winter. And so now we're going to be closed for another month. So I'm just going to change that date to 4/1 as an example there. Everything else is going to stay the same. Maybe I put a note, extended winter closure. All right, something like that. All right, so you see that? So I'll save this and then switch back over and import this one in. Oh, close it, of course. I mentioned you got to close it. The only reason I didn't close it is because then Zoom will freak out a little bit. I don't know where it would go. It would just stop sharing. So I will now go here and browse the file. Where did it go? I know I have it in here. There it is, modify LOA and import this. And here you see. So now it's 4/1 for those. And now the reason still says closed for season, but now we have a winner thing on there. So now if I go to Chris or Kathy or Gilbert, I will be able to see that. So let me go to Chris let me just do active employees. Remember, I put it in the future. So if I go to Chris as an example, I go to his LOA, there it is, still in the future. So that's why he's still active. And then there's that note that I just added in there with the updated date. So that's how you could do a mass change. Of course, if let's say they all were returning on a certain date, this actual end date would be valued, it would have a value in there, and you do the exact same import with that. So very simple to be able to make that little change in there and put that stuff there. So that's the leave of absence. I believe there's a report on here. We have a leave of absence report right here under employment. I knew there was, I just couldn't remember where exactly it was located. So this will show the people who are on leave in the date range here. So this is like the current month. I think I've got like 1 or 2 people on leave. So this will show that information. And so these 2 people are on leave right now. So I did 10/1 to 10/31. So these people are on leave. As you can see, they're still on leave. Those other people that started on 11/1 or whatever date it was are not on leave. So I'm not going to see them. Okay, so that's that report there. And let's just see if there were some. All right, so I'm going to just go over some of the feedback here or the questions because they're good questions. And I do apologize for not mentioning the questions. I should have mentioned them. So the QA is up there, see if you have quick Q&A, but we had 8 questions come through. So That's good. We can you guys caught on to that, of course. Let's go over these things here. So we did a suggestion to have the reason as controlled by a code table. We actually could.
Hi, Steve. It looks like you have a connection issue. We'll work on getting him back for everyone. Give us 1 second. Steve is working on getting back into the meeting.
Sorry about that. I'm not sure Zoom had a little connection issue, so I apologize for getting dropped off there.
Thanks, Steve. We can hear you now.
Good.
And you cut out just as you were talking about the code tables for the reasons, I believe.
Yes, exactly. So I do apologize for that. I'm not sure why Zoom Zoom had issues. So let me get back into that. So I was gonna show you how you can do a new idea. So you to the help and click on new ideas, and then go over there and submit a new idea. So this is where, and we listen to these here. So as you're probably aware, if you've been a customer for a little while, or even just saw the webinar last week, we follow these suggestions, especially the ones that are highly upvoted. So if you think that'd be a great idea to have a drop down there, go ahead and just add a post here. Say allow the reason code to be a drop down instead of a free form, and then put in your details here if you like. And then what happens is if you and other people vote this up, then we will add that. Now I'm not saying it's going to get added like within the next 2 weeks or 2 months, but maybe in 24. Our second release in 24. We already have a roadmap for 22, or the first one. So let's see other questions here. Notifications. So I don't think we right now have any notifications that let you know that you're coming off of a leave. Let me just check here real quick while I have 1 more minute and just see. I was happen to be on notifications here, and I don't remember if there's one for leave of absence. Timesheet, time off, tax, position, person. There's so many different ones. I'm just trying to go through here very quickly and see if we have one for leave of absence that I can notice right here. I did look up in this drop-down menu and there was nothing for leave of absence, so maybe it just did not get qualified. But I think that'd be a great idea to add a notification on here to their manager or something like that to let them know, hey, so and so is coming back in a week or whatever it is. So again, that would be a feature request there. I did talk about the report. I saw that in there. So if you that the leave of absence report as well as reported for the employees. And I think that's it for right now. So there are a couple more things. There's a possible add a drop down for the reason. So just another person. So I think we've got 3 or 4 people that really would like that idea. So if you all want to add that in there, or one person add it and everybody vote for it, I'd appreciate that. Would the LOA employees show up in the active employee list? They're not, because they're not active. So if they are on leave and you run, let's say they're on leave today and you run a report of active employees, you're not going to see them because they're not active today. Now, if they're on leave starting next month and you run it today, they will show up. So let me just very quickly switch back over, and we're going to show our schedule for through, well, we're actually into January now. So here is our spooky schedule, especially if you're a payroll person, because year end is coming, which is weird. But tomorrow's November, and so there's just a couple months left. So in a couple of weeks, we switched this up. We've been going back and forth on these, and this is our final schedule. And I think we publish this out there. So in 2 weeks, we're going to talk about Canadian year end. So our Canadian friends, please join us if you're a payroll person, or let your payroll people know that we're going to be talking about payroll year end in 2 weeks on the 14th of November. 2 weeks after that, we're going to talk about U.S. year end. Again, if you're in the U.S. and your payroll, or decent payroll, let them know about that. And then a week later, we're going to do this one. This is the one we moved. It was after Christmas, which would have been tough. So we moved this to December 5th. So we're going to do back-to-back US, and then we'll finish off our year-end stuff with Canada again on the 12th of December. Hopefully, if you're a payroll person or no one, they are able to attend one of these appropriate ones for them. They might go longer than 30 minutes, and we might want to just make these 45 because there's a lot that can be covered. And then we're going to talk about ACA reporting, which is another US thing. So our Canadian friends can probably ignore this one. So this is going to be our first one of January. We'll get back to our regularly scheduled stuff with HR and recruiting and so forth after this, and then we'll do another ACA in February. So if you're just an HR person, and you're in the US, this might interest you. Otherwise, you get a little break from me, and I will see you next year. Hopefully you have a great Halloween if you're celebrating, and you get to have lots of trick-or-treats.
And
So thank you so much for joining. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, Steve. Great job today. So one thing to note is the Canadian year end and US year end webinars are the exact same. So you only have to attend one. You don't need to attend both.
Yes.
Thanks,
We
everyone.
just do
Have a
two of
good
them
day.
because scheduling. Yeah.
Correct.
So thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you again shortly. So have a great day.